You're listening to Whoa! Potluck.
Welcome back to the Asians in Hockey podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Nate Nikau. Before we dive into today's episode, I do have a quick request to ask of you. If you've enjoyed the series thus far, I would love it if you could post a quick 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. This is honestly the best way to get the word out about the show right now and to help us cultivate our audience. Thank you so much for your support. Now, as usual, we have 3 periods of hockey talk featuring a look at the Asian players still in the Stanley Cup Playoffs, a profile of one of the current great coaching talents, Manny Malhotra, and a conversation with the captain of Canada's women's para-ice hockey team, Alanna Mah. All of that is coming up right after this.
Hey, I'm Phil Yu, and you may know me from a blog called Angry Asian Man.
And I'm Jeff Yang, author, journalist, and celebrity dad.
We host a podcast called They Call Us Bruce, an unfiltered conversation about what's happening in Asian America.
Each week or so, we host a discussion about some of the most vital and interesting topics in our pop culture and our community, bringing in guests who are shaping and informing this thing called Asian America from Hollywood to DC and beyond.
We got media, entertainment, food, family, politics, representation.
The good, the bad, the WTF of it all.
So check us out wherever you get your podcasts or at theycallusbruce.com.
Peace.
Peace.
To drop the puck on today's episode, we'll head over to the NHL, where the Stanley Cup Playoffs have just finished up the second round of play as of the time I'm recording this. Only 4 teams are left, and all of our Asian players remaining are on one of them. Though we do have to talk about one who was eliminated in the second round, so let's kick things off with him. The young Nicholas Robertson is emerging as an excellent talent, and while he didn't feature a whole lot in the playoffs, he did play in 2 games in round 1 and in 1 game during round 2. He landed an assist in round 1 against Ottawa and a goal in round 2 against Florida for a total of 2 playoff points. Now, while we're all excited about his career going forward, we'll have to wait until next year to catch back up with him as Toronto was eliminated by Florida this round. Next up, Cody Ceci. In the second round against the Winnipeg Jets, Ceci played a crucial role in the Stars' defensive efforts. Over the series, he maintained a solid presence on the ice despite not notching any points, averaging over 20 minutes of ice time per game. His physical play was evident, with a total of 7 hits and 7 blocked shots during the second round, bringing his total to 19 hits and 21 blocked shots over the course of the playoffs. Ceci's experience and reliability have been assets for the Stars as they advance to the Western Conference Finals. Now we turn to Matt Dumba, who I have to confess I've had a hard time finding info on. The last game he played was during the regular season on April 16th against the Nashville Predators. What's strange is that all the injury news that I can find about Dumba is from back in December, and any info about him in the playoffs points to him just being a healthy scratch. So I'm kind of in the dark about him. But if you have any info, please hit me up on Instagram or via email. My email address is asiansinhockey@gmail.com, and my Instagram account is @asiansinhockey. In any case, along with his teammate Cody Ceci, Dumba is moving on to the Final Four, so maybe we'll see him on the ice at some point. Rounding out the list is the young offensive powerhouse Jason Robertson. Returning from a knee injury that saw him miss the entire first round, Jason played much of this round, but he was surprisingly absent from the score sheet. He averaged under 15 minutes of ice time against Winnipeg and posted just 1 assist throughout the entire series. Now, admittedly, with Dallas running an 11-7 lineup, their second line does appear to be without a consistent center, so maybe some of his offensive silence could be a result of that. In any case, I'll be cheering him on in the conference final against Edmonton, so let's hope he can rally in this next round. Okay, that does it for the first period. With the Maple Leafs out, that leaves us with the Stars carrying all three of our Asian players deep into the playoffs. So if you're a fan of Asian hockey players like I am, I guess we're hopping on the Dallas bandwagon for the semifinals, although it's admittedly hard not to root for a Canadian team to win the Stanley Cup again. But hey, this is Asians in hockey. Okay, coming up after the break, we'll take a look at the life and career of Manny Malhotra. Stay tuned.
But we're still here, and we're going strong.
It's an exciting time in Asian America. There are more movies, TV shows, books, and music reflecting us than ever. But all of these represent just a small slice of Asian American culture and experiences. So what do? Tell more slices. Asian Americana is a show that explores these slices of distinctly Asian American culture and history. We've talked about how Chinese Americans built California's Sacramento Delta, the art scene turns gallery institution Giant Robot, a play that explores the lost Cambodian pop music of the 60s and 70s, and, of course, boba, just to name a few stories. You can find Asian Americana at asianamericana.com or on your podcast app.
And we're getting tired of proving we belong.
Welcome to the third period of today's episode. Manny Malhotra was born on May 18, 1980, in Mississauga, Ontario, to a Punjabi father and a French-Canadian mother. His father, Shadi Malhotra, was born in Lahore before the partition of India and Pakistan and later moved to North America. This multicultural upbringing provided Manny with a unique perspective in a sport that has long grappled with diversity. Malhotra's hockey journey gained momentum in the Ontario Hockey League, or OHL, with the Guelph Storm. Selected 17th overall in the 1996 OHL priority selection, he quickly established himself as a leader, serving as team captain and leading the Storm to a J. Ross Robertson Cup championship in the 1997-98 season. His exceptional performance earned him multiple accolades, including the Bobby Smith Trophy for academic excellence and the George Parsons Trophy for sportsmanship during the 1998 Memorial Cup. Malhotra's impressive junior career caught the attention of NHL scouts, leading to his selection as the 7th overall pick by the New York Rangers in the 1998 NHL Draft, a rare moment of high-profile visibility for a player of South Asian descent at the time. Over the next 18 years, he played nearly 1,000 NHL games, donning the jerseys of the Rangers, the Dallas Stars, the Columbus Blue Jackets, the San Jose Sharks, the Vancouver Canucks, the Carolina Hurricanes, and the Montreal Canadiens. While not known for prolific scoring, Malhotra carved out a niche as a defensive specialist and face-off expert, boasting a career face-off win percentage exceeding 56%. His tenure with the Vancouver Canucks was particularly noteworthy. In 2011, after suffering a severe eye injury from a puck to the face, many feared his career was over. Demonstrating remarkable resilience, Malhotra returned to participate in the Stanley Cup Final that same year, inspiring teammates and fans alike. Upon retiring in 2016, Malhotra transitioned seamlessly into coaching. He began as a development coach with the Vancouver Canucks and was later promoted to assistant coach, focusing on faceoffs and penalty kill strategies. In 2020, he brought his expertise to the Toronto Maple Leafs as an assistant coach, continuing to work closely with forwards and special teams. In 2024, Malhotra returned to the Canucks organization, taking on the role of head coach for their AHL affiliate, the Abbotsford Canucks. Under Malhotra's leadership, the Abbotsford Canucks have become a nurturing ground for young talent, emphasizing development and inclusivity. Notably, the team features several players of Asian descent, including forward Jujhar Khaira and defender Akito Hirose. Jujhar Khaira, born in Surrey, British Columbia, is one of the few NHL players of Punjabi descent, following in the footsteps of pioneers like Robin Bawa and Malhotra himself. Akito Hirose, hailing from Calgary, Alberta, has shown promise as a defender, bringing skill and poise to the blue line as a Canadian player of Japanese descent. Malhotra's presence as head coach not only provides mentorship to these players, but also symbolizes progress in the sport's journey toward greater ethnic diversity and representation. Manny Malhotra's career is a testament to perseverance, adaptability, and leadership. From his early days as a promising junior player to his role as a respected NHL veteran and now as a coach shaping future stars, his influence on the game is profound. As one of the few South Asian figures in professional hockey, Malhotra continues to inspire a new generation of players and coaches from diverse backgrounds. There's a whole lot more to learn about Manny Malhotra, and I highly recommend checking out his interview on another great hockey-related podcast, The Minority League. I'll link to that episode in today's show notes. Okay, after the break, we'll talk with the captain of Canada's women's para ice hockey team, Alanna Mah. We'll be right back.
And I co-host the podcast Asians in Baseball alongside Naomi Ko and Scott Okamoto. Asians in Baseball is exactly what it sounds like, a podcast about the Asian and Asian Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Americans in Major League Baseball. Every week, we break down the highlights of what's going on with Asians in baseball and then take a deeper dive into the Asian and Asian Americans past and present who have shaped baseball as it is today. Whether you're Kim Ng's #1 fan or you've never even heard of Hideo Nomo, we've got something for everyone, especially for the Shohei Ohtani stans. Maybe too much for the Shohei Ohtani stans. Listen to Asians in Baseball wherever you get podcasts, part of the Potluck Podcast Collective.
Okay, welcome to the third period of today's episode. For this period, I am actually joined by Alanna Mah, who is the captain of the women's national para hockey team of Canada. I do have to add that because, you know, some of us are here in the U.S. and but she's Team Canada's captain of the women's national para hockey team. Alanna, welcome to Asians in Hockey.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So let's go back to the beginning. Tell us about your hockey origin story. What brought you to the game? I suppose, you know, you're from Edmonton, right? So hockey's kind of in the air. So you probably born into it. But give us a little bit about your story. Was there a moment, or was it just here it is? I can't even point to a moment. I'm just hockey now.
Yeah. So for me, I actually, when I was a baby, I was diagnosed with cancer. So that was on my spinal cord, and that's how I kind of got disabled and had to veer my way into para hockey rather than kind of a dream of playing stand-up hockey. But as you kind of said, yes, I'm from Edmonton. So city lives and breathes hockey. Big Oilers fan, my entire family. Diehard Oilers fan. So I always grew up in that environment. I remember like the 06 Cup run like the back of my hand. So it was definitely always a part of my life. My older cousin actually played hockey. So I remember as a kid also going out to watch his games and stuff. And I was always like, man, like I want to play hockey too. And when I was 7 years old, actually, through the Paralympic Sports Association at Edmonton, I kind of found sledge hockey, as we called it back in the day, para hockey now. But I was playing soccer, actually, at the time with a bunch of the people who I ended up playing hockey with in the future. But through that association with a bunch of adapted sports, they had sledge hockey as well. So I decided I'd go out and try it, and instantly just fell in love with it. At 7 years old. But at the time, my mom was like, it's too late. Practices run way too late. So she made me wait till I was 9 till I actually joined the team. But yeah, 9 years old was when it really, really kickstarted, and been playing ever since. So
Gotcha. So correct me if I'm wrong. But so you like you said, you started at 9, and then you made the women's national team at 14 years old.
Yeah. So I'm definitely, obviously, I'm still quite young, but I've been there for about 10 years now. So I'm a veteran, I guess, but it's been a wild ride.
Yeah. And then, like I said at the onset, you're the captain, and you were named captain of Team Canada at age 22. Pretty. So I know we're like 3 years late on this, but congratulations.
Thank you.
So like from the outside looking in, that career looks like an absolute whirlwind. Did it feel that way to you? Or were you sort of like in the grind with it, that it just sort of felt like, you're working really hard to get where you're at?
I think at the time, yeah, kind of more of I was in the grind of it, and there's times in between 14 and 22, and even now, right, where felt like I'm just putting in the work, and what's gonna come is gonna come. Especially with our sport being not quite a Paralympic sport yet. So when I joined at 14, the big goal was always, okay, let's get the women's game into the Paralympics, and so I think on that front, it was always like, okay, I'm working so hard, but we're not quite there yet. So it was always working and working, and waiting for that big thing to happen. But when I was 22, that was kind of when our very first World Challenge happened. So that finally felt like, I guess, alongside being named captain then, but our first big event and stepping stone to actually progressing the game. So definitely felt like a time coming once we were getting along there. But
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we'll come back to that a little bit later as well. Because I actually, until I started reading up for our conversation, I didn't realize that para hockey wasn't in the Paralympics. So that was a little bit of a sad surprise to me, but we'll come back to that in a bit. Do you have any I guess milestones or like tentpole moments over the course of your career? I mean, your career's still early by many metrics. Like you're kind of in the prime, but you also like jump started your career pretty young as well, So do you have any like moments that you can point at, or stories or anything you could share over the course of your career so far?
Yeah, I think big ones that stand out to me. So I've also played on a mixed provincial team since I was about 15 years old with the guys as well. So when I was 15, I think, or 16, we won the very first Canadian title. So that was a really big deal. So we beat out, I think it was Team Ontario at the time. No one expected it. So that was a really great stepping stone to kind of that high performance career of mine at that age. And then I think, like I was saying, when I was 22, competing at that very first Women's World Challenge was a really, really big deal. And even I can think back before then, when I was probably 17, my first time traveling abroad, we went to Norway with the team to compete, which was just a crazy experience. Like I never thought I would get, the opportunities to travel around the world to just play hockey. So that's definitely one I am fond of as well. And then this coming summer is our very first official World Championship. So I think that'll be the next really big benchmark stepping stone for me.
Wow, that's exciting. So I want to transition over a little bit to, I guess, like the namesake of the podcast. We are Asians in hockey. So I do want to ask about your experience playing sports as an Asian person. And while there's certainly been a lot of progress over the last few decades as far as representation goes, there's still a lack of representation in so many areas. But I'm curious about your sort of outlook of the game, and even maybe a little bit while you were growing up. Were there any role models that you had who looked like you, that you felt could be representative of you as an Asian person in the sport of hockey? Was there anybody that you looked up to at either maybe a local level, a mentor, or even on the international stage?
I think definitely on the para side of it. So in my sport, there's really nobody to look up to in that sense. So kind of take that upon myself to be that mentor, role model in a sense. So but on the stand-up side, I think growing up, I only really knew of maybe Julie Chu with the women's stand-up team with the States, and then just whoever is coming up in the NHL, because I'm a big hockey fan too. It's exciting to see anyone kind of make their way through the NHL. I was talking to you earlier, big Oilers fan, so just in the past few years, seeing like Kyler Yamamoto, like that was really cool for me. But like I said, there's really nobody kind of in my sport on sledge hockey or para hockey that I've been able to look up to, which is a little sad. But like I said, trying to change.
Sad, but that also means you're a trailblazer and a pioneer in this world. And like I realize that for a lot of people, myself included, if I were in your shoes, I would not want that kind of weight of responsibility. But you do seem like you're taking that in stride. So that's encouraging, and it's really exciting to see you in this role that kids can look up to and see someone as captain of Team Canada. Look, I mean, this is another thing too. How many Asian hockey captains? I mean, in the NHL, there's only ever been Paul Kariya and Nick Suzuki. So, and like in sled hockey or para hockey, it's you. I didn't really do a whole lot of digging outside of that, to be honest. But you're one of a very small number of captains in the sports of hockey. So it is exciting, and I'm sure feels really daunting.
Yeah, I don't know. I try not to think too much about it, so just kind of take it in stride.
Yeah. Oh, of course. So when sorry, I'll strike that. I gotta make a note. Edit at 9:30. Okay. Sorry, my brain did a
That's okay.
thing. Okay. So, I was looking at the Team Canada roster, and your team, out of a roster of 17 players, has 4 non-white players. Do you, as team captain, do you see yourself as like a leader in terms of representing these players, or maybe even providing ways to educate white players on like supporting or advocating for non-white players? Do you see opportunities there, or do you see yourself as kind of trying to just galvanize the team regardless of race and just working together as a unit, focusing entirely on the game? How do you do any of that balancing? Is that anything that you've thought through at all, or?
A little bit. I do think I probably lean more towards the second way of just bringing the team together, and we're just doing the hockey thing. I know it's obviously still very important to, make it known that, hey, like, speak up for the voices of, like you said, the 4 of us. I know my teammate Alyssa White is doing a lot of work with Black Girl Hockey Club, and that's super important, and amplifying her voice in that organization has been really awesome. But for myself, I think just, like I said earlier, just being a face of someone that people can look up to. I know I have my little teammate Hadley Frittenberg. She is Asian as well, so it was awesome having her join the team, and kind of, I don't know, we're just both in it together at this point, so that's really cool.
Yeah. Okay, so switching things up a little bit, you're obviously the captain of Team Canada. That's simultaneously a huge honor and a big responsibility. What are some ways that you lead your team as a captain that might not be, things that people think of when they think of, or when they imagine team captaincy, or that, someone like me, who's the highest level I played is beer league. For me, I think of the team captaincy, and I think of, the guy who puts together the sub list for our team and kind of talks to the rink manager.
Yeah. Gotcha. I do things a little bit differently than that, maybe, but I don't know. This year, actually, we're running with co-captains, so it's me alongside my teammate Raphael. So we're leading the charge this year, which is really awesome. And I've always kind of been a fan of. We have a great leadership group, so the 4 of us right now are really pushing the charge there, and just making sure everyone's voices are accounted for, leading by kind of committee there in that sense. But I think for me, I've always been not maybe the most vocal person in the room. Like, my voice is definitely heard, but I like to keep it light. Like, I'm not super serious. I think, like, in games that can get really tight or intense, it's good to just remind people why we're playing the game, that we're doing it because we love it, and just kind of bring people back to their why, and like I said, our love for the game. So trying to keep things light and funny, and I definitely just like to put my head down and do the work, and classic, like, lead by example type of person. Just about doing, like, those small things every day that I just put my head down and get to it.
Cool. Cool. So let's, I guess let's put our nerd hats on a little bit. So I'm a little bit, I think my big fascination with hockey is all of the gear. I love, getting in the weeds with like, the profiling on my skates, the, picking my sharpening radius and then of course, playing around with different stick lies and blade curves. Does that exist with para ice hockey gear?
Yes, definitely. And I think I'm probably pretty similar to yourself in the sense that I'm also super like, I need everything to be a very particular way and always experimenting with all the different types of things to look for the best. I don't know how many years it took for me to pick which way I like my blade sharpened the best. I think I've landed on it, but we'll see. And there's only one place I'll go to, so in Edmonton.
Oh, okay.
I've actually moved to a different city. I live in Calgary right now, but still get my blade sharpened back in Edmonton.
Oh, wow.
It's just the way it needs to be done.
Yeah, no, of course. And it's probably a little bit more challenging because now I've kind of gotten into the whole Sparks hockey thing. Like I'll go to a shop that has a Sparks hockey machine and I just tell them what radius and it, they stick it in the computer and it kind of does it automatically. Now I know like at the elite level, they still have, the guys with the machines doing it by hand. It's probably a little bit more challenging for you because your equipment is not like as widespread as a pair of skates. So you have very specific shops that you need to go to, right?
Yes and no. I think for blades, it's pretty, you just pop them off the sled and you can kind of take them anywhere.
Okay.
I'm just pretty particular in that sense, but I think for the rest of equipment, there's not, like I said, like that many companies that kind of work with para hockey equipment. So for my sticks, for example, we're kind of rolling with Warrior or Bauer, kind of the two brands that have stepped in and made para hockey sticks, and each brand kind of has different curves on the blade. So I've always used Warrior, but now I've started to use Bauer since our team is sponsored by them, and it's definitely been a learning curve, but I think hopefully for the best. It's been feeling pretty good lately, so
Gotcha.
trying to get out of my old habits of equipment and try new things and see what works.
Yeah. Oh, I guess that's the benefit of only playing beer league is I could just pick what I want. I've got my Warrior stick that I've had for the last 10 years, and I'm hopefully nothing happens to it. I played a game a few years back in this old barn, and there was a gap in the Zamboni doors, and one of my teammates, their stick got stuck in the gap and just snapped right. Like I was
over.
I'm like, I'm not. Thankfully, I'm on the left wing, and I'm only staying on this side of the
Talk to that corner, I will not be there.
Exactly. That's pretty cool. Yeah. And I've been partial to Warrior sticks, but I've tried some CCM out a little bit.
Okay.
I have one CCM stick that I took to a game and I didn't touch it.
No, couldn't do it.
just couldn't do it. So let's talk like big picture now. So like you were saying earlier, para hockey is not in the Olympics.
The women's game isn't. So there's yeah.
Oh, okay. That's why I was confused and a little surprised. So the women's game is not in the Olympics, but the men's game is?
Yeah, I could clarify a little bit. So right now they call it mixed competition. So it's basically a men's competition, but they allow one female spot. But in the past, like all the Paralympics ever, there's only ever been 3 women who have ever competed.
Oh, wow.
So it's very much a male sport, dominated sport there. So we're obviously pushing to get a women's category, like alongside stand-up women's hockey is their own competition,
right.
To give obviously females an opportunity to compete and play.
And so you were saying like that was something that you had kind of set as like a goal for yourself, even when you joined the national team when you were 14 years old. That's like a big goal for a 14-year-old.
Yeah, not even knowing that it was in there. I've always told myself like I am going to compete there. So
yeah. Do you have, and like now that you're the captain, do you have some thoughts as to executing that? Is it just a matter of like word of mouth, grassroots efforts? Like what are some ideas or anything that you have brewing?
Yeah, so in order for us to get to the Paralympics, we need just more countries participating. So
Oh,
a
okay.
lot of it is growing the game internationally. And like I said, our big stepping stone is having this World Championship this summer. So we have 6 teams competing, which is a really big start for us. And then we're going to hopefully grow it to 8 by 2030, and we could
Okay.
get our bid in to compete in those games. So fingers crossed that happens. But
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
yeah, so alongside of just playing a bunch and it being my life on that sense, growing the game and spreading the word and doing that is another big part of what I do.
Mm. Yeah, that seems like a ton of work, but also huge goal. I really hope that you all make it. And I'll be, keeping my ear to the ground. Obviously, through my tiny little platform right now, I'll be talking about it as well. Is there as far as a threshold? Sorry, because you mentioned that was it eight countries that you need to compete, and that's like the threshold to get it into the Olympics,
Yeah,
or?
that's kind of what we're aiming for there.
Oh, okay. Okay. Cool. So, as we kind of draw to a close here, is there anything else that you would like people to know about yourself, about your team, the sport at large, anything that we didn't cover today, that you want to get out there?
No, I would just say if you see para hockey at, your local rink playing, go support the game, kind of spread it word of mouth, like you said. We're really just trying to grow the game and get that recognition higher up there so people know that we're around and we're playing and more young girls and disabled people can come in and play the sport and it just continues to grow and we get there one day. Hopefully 2030 is that day, like I said.
Very cool. Okay, before I actually close up, I do have a couple other questions.
Yeah.
One, going back to the gear. So, how do you stop?
Yeah.
I'm so curious about that mechanic. Is it just
It's the hardest thing people is the first hardest thing people notice when they get in the sled. It's more about gaining enough speed and momentum to kind of put your pick in the ice and then throw your hip out, honestly, to get that blade to dig in.
okay?
I think it just comes with practice, repetition, but that's the first time people get in a sled, they're skating, they're like, how do I stop? And it takes a
Wow.
minute, but
Okay. And then are you and in that you mentioned put your pick in the ice. So for people who are unfamiliar with the sort of the gear and the way things look, what are kind of the main pieces of gear that a para ice hockey player has, compared or contrasted from stand-up hockey?
Yeah, so all the gear we wear is the same except for obviously skates. We wear skate boots, so we just take the blades off, so we protect our feet still. And then we sit in a sled, so we sit in our little bucket, and then we have 2 blades underneath us. They'll vary in kind of width apart. Some
Okay.
players have it blades that far apart, out to here.
Okay.
The closer you go, the more agile you'll be. You'll be able to cut an edge easier. And then we use 2 sticks. They're both curved inward, and they have sharp metal picks on the end. And then that's where you dig into the ice and you propel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's, I guess, the cool thing about our sport is you're both right and left-handed.
Yeah. So that's kind of interesting. Yeah. The game that I watched, it was really fun to see how you don't have a handedness per se. I mean, you do, you probably favor one or the other, but
Preference, but
right. But as far as your stick goes, it's not like in stand-up hockey where you have a lefty stick and you're shooting lefty, you're only doing everything. I mean, then there's the backhand, of course, but that's much more challenging, or you've got another skill that you have to learn. But yeah, so that's interesting. You could do backhand and forehand on both hands.
yeah, literally you could, the possibilities are endless. So I think in that sense, it's just kind of cool. I can use both hands if I wanted to. And I know you can see so many cool plays people make, obviously, just left to right, dangling around people. It's cool.
Very cool. And then last question. So you're from Edmonton. You mentioned earlier that you live in Calgary now.
Yep.
What is it like living in enemy territory?
Well, now that they're not in the playoffs, it doesn't really matter. So
Right. True.
I wear my Oilers gear, and they can't really say anything to me because there's no argument there. I've been to a couple games at Saddle Dome, obviously, when the Oilers are in town, and it's okay being in enemy territory, but I'd much rather be at a home game.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, of course, 100%. Well, Alanna, thank you so much for hanging out with us today.
Yeah.
How can people find you to follow you? Are you on socials? Do you have like a little web presence?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. It's just my full name. Alanna Mah is my handle. So keep up with what I'm doing hockey-wise there, and yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Alanna. Really appreciate it. And we'll obviously keep in touch, and we'll be following your career.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It was awesome to chat with you. And go Oilers.
Yes.
Okay, that does it for today's episode of the Asians in Hockey podcast. Stay tuned for our next episode where I chat with Debbie Jiang, educator and community historian who wrote a piece about a little-known yet absolutely incredible story in Asian hockey history. It was an amazing conversation, so be sure to subscribe to the show so you don't miss out. Thank you so much for listening. Asians in Hockey is part of the Potluck Podcast Collective and is hosted and produced by Nate Nakao. Contributing producers are Chad Soon and Chris Wu. If you like what you heard, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and share this podcast with your friends. To keep up with us on socials, follow us on Instagram and Threads at Asians in Hockey and on Blue Sky at asiansinhockey.com. We also have a Facebook page now, facebook.com/asiansinhockey. And please feel free to shoot me an email at asiansinhockey@gmail.com. See you next time on the Asians in Hockey podcast.